As you all know by now, President Joe Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, much to the chagrin of all of the right and some of the left. But Meghan McCain had a truly baffling take on the whole thing. Meghan McCain criticized Hunter Biden of being a nepo baby. All self-awareness has gone out the window. It no longer exists in the world. On X, she wrote, "No one is above the law except the president's nepo baby," is a hell of a parting message for Democrats. There are plenty of reasons to be upset or disappointed with the president's decision to pardon his son. But of all the hot takes out there, this has got to be the weakest one of them all, in no small part because of who delivered the take. Meghan McCain is not but a nepo baby herself. Perhaps she has done well with the hand that life has dealt her, arguably, but let's be real. It is highly unlikely that she would have had the career and the clout that she currently enjoys, nor would she have been in her current position of social and political relevancy if her father was not John McCain. And however you feel about nepo babies is your own prerogative, but criticizing someone for benefiting from something you yourself actively represent and benefit from is dumb. And she's not one of those sneaky nepo babies either, like half the cast of SNL currently, whose parents were behind-the-scenes writers with little to no public name recognition. Everyone knows Meghan McCain's father, who he was and what he did in his life. Meghan herself loves to remind people that her father is John McCain.
My father, my father, my father, my father, my father, my father, my father is my father, my father's my father, my father.
Personally, I find it hard to care about this pardon. We all saw it coming. They all do it, whether it makes big headlines or not. I was never really invested in the Hunter Biden story to begin with, so it's hard for me to now pretend to be invested in it. People in support of the pardon say that Biden was just being a good father and looking out for his family. Great, but I don't necessarily care about that. I have enough to worry about in my own life. I can't be worrying about other people's family dynamics. People also say that Trump would have done the exact same thing unapologetically, and his supporters would have lauded him for it, insisting that whatever crime was being pardoned was wrongfully convicted in the first place. And the more politically germane take is that this is what happens when the Supreme Court awards nearly unchecked power to the executive. This is the least that Joe Biden could have done with the time he has left in office. Some people think that now that he should be doing a lot more, taking much more action along these same lines. The pardon request list is growing. Conversely, critics are calling the pardon political revenge, which is funny, coming from people who voted for a guy who vowed to take revenge on his own enemies once he was back in office. And that's something that I will never understand with people. They want a president to have monarchical amounts of power, but only if they like the monarch. That's not how things work. That's not how rules or laws or precedents work. If you want to be able to do something, you should be fine with the other side, the side that you don't like or agree with, being able to do the exact same thing.
The other day, Donald Trump said on his first day he's going to be a dictator for a day.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Would you rather have Donald Trump as a dictator for 4 years or re-elect Joe Biden for 4 years?
I would rather have Donald Trump. I'd like to see the repeal the Roosevelt law so that he can be a president for a lot more than 4 years. But this country needs a dictator. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
Donald Trump said in a speech that on day one for a day, he would be a dictator. What do you think of that?
No idea. I don't know.
Would you rather have 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president?
Trump.
As a dictator?
Maybe.
Would you rather have 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president?
Donald Trump all the way.
Even as a dictator?
Yes, yes.
Even coming out of Slovakia?
Yes, yes.
Would you rather have 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president?
We have a dictator currently, so.
Yes, we do.
On top of that, there's all of the posturing from the right about the morals and ethics of the Democrats, and it feels almost like emotional manipulation, as in it's totally fine and even expected for Republicans to act unethically, but it's unacceptable when Democrats do it. They're claiming hypocrisy, which sure, but even that is not really a hot take. Democratic voters do tend to hold their elected leaders to higher moral and ethical standards than Republicans hold their leaders to, for better or for worse. If anything, that usually just means that we're often very disappointed in our government and party leadership and wish that these leaders were better than they are. We will be the first ones to point out Democratic hypocrisy to you. I think people on the left have a lot of feelings about this pardon, which they are entitled to, but let's not pretend that the people in power were not always going to look out for themselves, their friends, and their family members if and when they were able to. It would have been unreasonable and naive to expect Biden not to pardon his son, despite what he said he was going to do or not do, just so he could make some kind of grand moralistic gesture. He already dropped out of the presidential race. The Democrats already lost the White House. Who is Joe Biden trying to impress or appease anymore? I do wonder, however, if my personal apathy over all of this is unique, and I don't think that it is. I mentioned rules and laws and precedents earlier, but all of that seems to just not hold as much weight with the public as it once did. Maybe we can chalk it up to the dumbing down of the American proletariat to the point that no one even knows what is going on anymore, let alone how they personally feel about any of it. They get so many opinions online that they hardly even need to form their own opinions anymore, and I wonder if they even remember how to. Maybe we're all exhausted and nihilistic to the point that all we have left is apathy and avoidance. We have nothing left to give. We have been bombarded with insanity for the past 10 years or so, largely unavoidable insanity, mind you. If we wanted to completely avoid it all, we would have to adopt and maintain an alternative lifestyle, which is very difficult to do, and it's becoming more and more difficult to just opt out of whatever reality has been created for us. So there's disillusionment all around, corruption is everywhere, everything is possible and nothing is real. People are politically and socially checked out. People are finding it difficult to care about causes that once inspired and sustained massive cultural and political movements. Apathy sounds like the act of people removing themselves from those movements, but that on its own could be a movement. If people have lost faith in, say, the legal system, including the Supreme Court, then there simply is no high court in the land anymore that people recognize. If people don't respect the laws that are in place, then those laws will become increasingly more difficult to enforce. I spoke about the 4B movement in a previous video where women are abstaining from dating, sex, relationships, and having babies with the men in their lives who they perceive to not support, appreciate, respect, or love them. It's not a fight. They're not yelling. They're hardly even talking about it very much. I'm talking about it because it's my job, but it's just a thing that's happening somewhat organically. And in this thing happening, given enough time and strength, it will change the ways in which society functions. And we will just have to wait and see how exactly that plays out and what that looks like for the rest of us. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.